Leonardo da Vinci designed an ideal city that was a century ahead of its time. The word genius is universally associated with the name of Leonardo da Vinci, a true Renaissance man. He embodied scientific spirit, artistic talent, and humanist sensibilities. Exactly 500 years have passed since Leonardo died in his home at Chateau du Clos-Lucé outside Tours, France. Yet far from fading to insignificance, his thinking has carried down the centuries and still surprises us today. These images are of Ferrara, Italy. It's about 42 miles southwest of Venice, which is in the north of Italy. This is by Alessandro Mellis, Principal Lecturer, Sustainable Cities, University of Portsmouth, on the conversation. The Renaissance marked the transition from the Middle Ages to modernity after the spread of the plague caused a global crisis resulting in some 200 million deaths across Europe and Asia. Today, the world is on the cusp of a climate crisis, which is predicted to cause widespread displacements, extinctions, and death if left unaddressed. And then, as now, radical solutions were called for to revolutionize the way people live and safeguard humanity against catastrophe. Around 1486, after a pestilence that killed half the population in Milan, which is again in northern Italy, Leonardo turned his thoughts to urban planning problems. Following a typical Renaissance trend, he began to work out an ideal city project, which, due to its excessive costs, would remain unfulfilled. Yet, given that unsustainable urban models are the key cause of global climate change today, and it's only natural to wonder how Leonardo might have changed the shape of modern cities. The birth of urbanism. Although the Renaissance is renowned as an era of incredible progress in art and architecture, it's rarely noted that the 15th century also marked the birth of urbanism as true discipline. The rigor and method behind the conscious conception of a city had been largely missed in Western thought, until the moment when prominent Renaissance men pushed forward large-scale urban projects such as the reconfiguration of Pienza, an expansion of Ferrara, and the construction of the fort town of Palmanova. And this is it right here. Okay. Palmanova is a Renaissance star fort town in northeastern Italy. Now, these works surely inspired Leonardo's decision to rethink the design of medieval cities with their winding and overcrowded streets and with houses piled against one another. So, discovering Leonardo's city. It's not easy to identify a coordinated vision of Leonardo's ideal city because of his disordered way of working with notes and sketches. But from sources including the Paris Manuscript B and the Codex Atlanticus, the largest collection of Leonardo's papers ever assembled, a series of innovative thoughts can be reconstructed regarding the foundation of a new city along the Ticino River designed for the easy transport of goods and clean urban spaces. Leonardo wanted a comfortable and spacious city with well-ordered streets and architecture. He recommended high, strong walls with towers and battlements of all necessary and pleasant beauty, and felt the place needed the sublimity and magnificence of a holy temple and the convenient the composition of private homes. His plan for a modern and rational city were consistent with Renaissance ideas. But in keeping with his unconventional personality, Leonardo included several innovations in his urban design. He wanted the city to be built on several levels, linked with vertical staircases. This design can be seen in today's high-rise buildings, but was absolutely unconventional at that time. Indeed, his idea of taking full advantage of the interior spaces by positioning flights of stairs on the outside of the buildings was not implemented until the 1920s and 1930s with the birth of modernist movement. And while the upper layers of the city, people could walk undisturbed between elegant palaces and streets, the lower layers was the place for services, trade, transport, and industry. But the true originality of Leonardo's vision was its fusion of architecture and engineering. Leonardo made designs for extensive hydraulic plants to create artificial canals throughout the city. The canals, regulated by locks and basins, were supposed to make it easier for boats to navigate inland and transport goods. Leonardo also thought that the width of the streets ought to match the average height of the adjacent houses, a rule still followed in many contemporary cities across Italy to allow access to sun and reduce the risk of damage from earthquakes. Fiction and the future. Although some of these features existed in Roman cities before Leonardo's drawings, there have never been a multi-level, compact modern city which thoroughly technically conceived. Indeed, it was not until the 19th century that some of his ideas were applied. For example, the subdivision of the city by function, with services and infrastructures located in the lower levels and wide and well-ventilated boulevards and walkways above for the residents, is an idea that can be found in Haussmann's renovation of Paris under Emperor Napoleon III. It's necessary to wait even until the 20th century to see the same ideas represented in the vertical city of futurist architectures or in the modern city of Hill-Besmeer or Le Corbusier, as well as in dystopian tales such as Franz Lang's Metropolis and Philip Dick's Blade Runner. Certainly, creating a city with different levels opens up the possibility of greater inequality between city dwellers. Today, Leonardo's ideas are not simply valid, they actually suggest a way forward for urban planning. Many scholars think that the compact city built upwards instead of outwards, integrated with nature, especially water systems, with efficient transport infrastructure, could help modern cities become more efficient and sustainable. This is yet another reason why Leonardo was aligned so closely with modern urban planning, centuries ahead of his time. This is on The Conversation Creative Commons, and I'll leave a link below for you for this. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.